Hello guys, thank you for joining us for the first video in the series of automation with Artos. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Artos Java project from the scratch. I'm going with an assumption that you have basic knowledge of Java and you are familiar with Eclipse IDE. So let us get started. So very first thing we would like to do is create an empty project. So let's go to Eclipse, click on File, New, and Java project. Provide it some logical name. So I'm going to call it Artos test project and click on the finish button. Once you click on the finish button, you will see the empty project will be created. There will be nothing inside the source directory. The other thing we would require is adding Artos jar as a dependency. So because I'm demonstrating normal Java project, we will add that manually. We can do the same thing using the Maven project differently. I will show you in the following tutorials. So to add the jar, let's first create the empty directory called lib. Oops, not the file. Create the directory called lib. And once we create the empty directory, let's download the jar from Maven repo. So if you go to Google and type Maven repo, it will open the Maven repository website. Then type Artos in the search bar and look for the one which says com.theartos. If you click on it, find the latest release, select that, and if you want to download jar, you can do it from here. If you are using Maven, you can copy the link from here. So let's download the jar currently. It will ask you to save in your local directory, so let's save it. In this case, it will be stored in my desktop. So once it will be downloaded, I'll copy that and place it into the lib directory. So as you can see, now we have Artos jar in the lib directory. To add the Artos jar into the build path, just click right click on the jar, select build path and click on add to build path, and you can see the jar is now added to reference libraries. So when we will compile it, it knows where to find the jar. So to start Artos project, we require two classes for minimum. One is called test runner. So it's a runner class which actually contains the main method, and the other class is the actual test case. You could have one or more test case classes. So to start with, let's create a package so we can keep all the test case well contained. So I'm going to call it com.test. So once you have created the package, let's create the runner class. I'm just going to call it test runner. You can name it whatever you like. And in the runner class, as I explained, we must have main method. So I'm going to create the main method. Now how do we initialize the runner using the main method? So you have to create the runner object from Artos. So if you type runner and do control space, it will suggest you the import from the Artos. So select this one and let's call object runner and create a new object. As you can see that it's taking class as the input argument. In this case, we are providing the runner class name itself and call it dot class. So basically what we are doing is we are passing the test runner class as a reference in the runner argument, so runner knows that which one is our main class. And to get runner going, we need to call runner.run method, and that takes our command line arguments as an argument. So we will pass the same argument that we receive from the main method. And as you can see, it shows error because runner can throw exception depending on what's correctly or not correctly set. So to handle that, just say throws exception, right? So as you can see, the main class is happy now. So our test runner is completed. Let's create one of the test case. So I'm just going to create a test class, and let's call it test case 1 for now. So what do we have to do in the test class? So first of all, when runner will start executing, it will look for the test cases. But how does it differentiate between the normal classes that are designed to do other things versus the test cases? So it does differentiate by using this annotation. So if we annotate the class with annotation test case, then the runner knows that this class is actually your test case and not for any other purpose. So runner will then start executing this class. Now currently, as you can see, our class is empty and there is nothing there. So as per the requirement, each test class must have at least one unit that runner can run, and unit means just a public method. So let me create one public method. Let's call it test unit 1, and as per requirement we must pass the object test context. So all the method that we want to consider as a unit, they must follow the structure here. So let's import the test context. So as you can see, the method has to be public. It has to take only test context as an argument, and other thing required is that method should be annotated with annotation at unit. So these annotations confirms that this is the test case, and these annotation confirms that this method is a test unit method, and as long as it is adhering to this signature, runner will recognize it. Another thing we must do is implement test executable. So that would basically meet all the minimum requirement for runner to recognize that this is a test case and it can execute it accordingly. Now how do we know that we have executed this method? So what we can do, we can just put a print line here. We can say this is my first test unit, right? So whenever it will execute, you will see that line printed, and we can confirm that it worked. So let's try it out and see if it actually worked. So I'm going to go to test runner and click execute button. And as you can see, execution already finished. So let's understand what happened there. So Artos jar printed out the stamp and tells you which version of Artos you are using. It also prints out some system information, and then from here it started executing the test case. So the test case name is that that test case had one unit, which is test unit 1, as we know, and it printed the line that we use for system.out.println. So test unit got passed, and because of there was only one unit, overall test case also passed. And right at the end you can see the summary where how many test case and units were run and what's the status of that, and at the end you can see the time it took. So if you now go and refresh the project after running the first time, you will see that Artos will automatically create some of the configuration and required directory and file structures, so you don't have to do anything as a user. So if you go inside conf directory, there are some configuration that Artos has created which you can modify as per your requirement. Lib is something what we created. Artos also created a reporting directory. It follows the organized logging structure, which means if you run a runner from some package, it will also create the subdirectory with that package name and keep all the logs inside. So if you have multiple packages, you will see the logs separated out in other subdirectories. It has some script, so if you want to run the same test using command line, you can use the script, which I will explain in maybe following tutorials. And it has the template, which again I will explain in following tutorials how to use it. But apart from that, as you can see, that as long as you can provide runner and a test case, it will happily run. Let's just quickly look at the reporting. So it produces 4 files by default. The first file is a summary file. As name suggests, it's nothing but a summary of the test results. So you can see how many test case and test units were run and what was the outcome, and you can see the test case by name as well and the time it took. It will report the time taken in milliseconds, so that's the accuracy level. Real-time log will be empty because we are not using any inbuilt connectors, so that was expected. I will explain how to use connectors in maybe following tutorials. All log is the same logs as you see on console, so whatever you see on a console will be stored here in the all log file. An extent report is just a good looking report which basically shows you the same information that you see in the summary log but in a more colorful way. So if you have more units and more test case, you will see more reports and statistics generated here, but currently because we ran only one test case with one unit, it looks much more simpler. So there you go guys, you created your first Artos Java project. Please keep watching the following tutorials and I'll take you through more features and how to use advanced feature set in Artos. Thank you for watching and have a good day.